We're now here in Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. I've been here for 10 days. Last week I taught a training camp together with Juan Carlos, and now we're recording an episode for my podcast. Juan Carlos, how are you doing?
Very good. So happy to be with you on your pockets.
It's been a very good week. We had students from everywhere, Canada, US, Mexico, England, and all over Europe. It's been a full week of training. Basically what we did was 5 days, 10 workouts with lectures in between. So we exposed the students to all kind of methods, from relative strength to functional hypertrophy to a bit more metabolic work. Juan Carlos talked a lot about biomechanics and bodybuilding and his approach to nutrition. One of the things lately, you have gotten quite a bit of fame in the Dominican for creating the Simo Diet. Tell us a bit more. What is a Simo Diet? And
first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be at Europe, Germany, in the pockets. Actually, the Simo Diet is the result of many years. Actually, I started out like 32 years on the trench when I was a young guy, a young teenager, trying to be a bodybuilder. So I was very oriented about learning about nutrition. I know the guy that have a great genetics about growing. Even for old school standard, anyone can build a great physique, but not to the standard of being a freak. So for me, it's not easy to gain in size. So my first experience when it was nutrition, I did the body output from Dan to Cane. So it was a completely ketogenic diet that actually is the recomposition. The method is about creating a hyper insulin sensitivity, going ketogenic diet very deep on 5 days, and then loading carbs to expose to a maximum anabolism through the effects of insulin that we can. So it's a modified system, very similar to the one that did Mauro Di Pasquale in the metabolic diet, but was more elegant because fixed in the regular people, like weekends, we can have the carbs. For sure, not any carbs. There was very specific what carbs to create that super compensation when you were completely depleted and your fiber fresh about training very hard for the 5 days. Everything start there. So after that, I keep the same protocol until one of my clients gave me many years ago my first book. I read a lot, but not in the tendencies about bodybuilding. It was called The Living Low Carb Life from Johnny Bowden. So actually give me another perspective about the aspect of nutrition, longevity. Beside that was the first book that I got just related about not only looking good, about health. How to manipulate your lipids and blood, all the stuff that we know that are the benefits from going very low carbs. Beside that, I started doing many research as a student of the Institute of Functional Medicine in the United States. I did several years of functional medicine seminars and courses, and then I moved on to the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine and the Metabolic Medical Institute. So that I found out it was they were talking very much about the inflammation aspect, something that we always overlook because we are very prone about performance only and looking good. So we actually, when you have a background as a bodybuilder, you care little about how you are inside. You only take care about how you looks like, how body fat, the pump that you get about manipulating the carbs, the things that we know. But the things I start hearing about inflammation, GI tract. So it was a continuing about seminar after seminar, not maybe putting a lot of attention on those issues because I was there only for improved longevity, but not giving up my approach about or only seeing the macros like carbs, no carbs, no fats, a lot of carbs, all the stuff. So using what I have on hand at the moment as a personal trainer, strength coach, I started giving protocols to my client about nutrition. So I was studying the research because in Dominican Republic, you don't need to be a physician to be able to prescribe a request from any people, lab from blood work. So I was watching over values as insulin, fasting glucose, testosterone, factors that or markers that tell you about inflammation, like protein C-reactive, high sensitive proteins, C-reactive proteins. Sorry, this is I know English is not my strongest point, but the things I saw how many people were moving forward, so improve or not. So after learning about the aspect regarding the macros, as I told you before, and hearing a lot about GI tract and inflammation, when I did my fellowship in metabolic and vascular biology, all the seminars for a whole year were trying to understand how inflammations harm your arteries. And not only your arteries, how it managed completely to downregulate or upregulate some hormones that you want them to be like in equilibrium. So I keep that in my head for so long. So I was all the time brainstorming about what the fuck is that? I'm sorry for the fuck, but what's that? Then after that, 1.5 years ago, I got in my hands the Stan Efferding diet.
It's a vertical diet,
the vertical diet. So I was in the middle of a conversation with Milos, Sarcev, and the late Charles Poliquin, my mentor. And they were talking about the good and the bad. The good is very structured, it's very simple. Not everyone see the good sides of everything, but at the end, people will get results. Especially result was people with pain in their joints, inflammations, and I say sometimes some diseases like high blood pressure, some issues regarding like insulin and the stuff, they were improving so fast. So I came out to do this is my diet. So actually it has my name because it's my creation, but it's not my invention. So it's the influence of many people in the industry. I'm gonna mention them. First one, as I told you, Dan Duquesne regarding the ketogenic diet for body recomposition for natural athletes. Then I got, as we know, meat and nut from Charles Poliquin. A big influence was your practice when it comes how to manipulate in neurotransmitters regarding performance. So most of the people will tell you, for example, in your case, this is what we listen in the average person is that, oh, you need carbs for energy. But people do not understand actually from energy come from. It's for your brain. So we need to learn all the stuff because we live in an era of cows. So we need to improve what we get through what we eat in order to perform better. So I used your profile regarding neurotransmitters. Then I came out in my way doing some research why in Dominican Republic most of the people are slow after lunch. So most of the people over here as a staple for lunch is rice and beans. So it sounds, and I find out even by your saying it's okay that the rice and beans create a lot of serotonin. Then as always doing my reading, my research in the old school, because I'm a lover of the old school protocols, I see guys that look outstanding great, even they were not that heavy like Serge Nubret. So Serge Nubret protocol at the moment that he was one of the best physique. Even some people said that he didn't made it because he was black. You know how was the issue in United States about being black or not in the area of Arnold Schwarzenegger. So the thing is that this guy, his protocol was very high volume, like it was like a circuit training, but he got a lot of results and his muscle looked fuller. So this guy stayed most of the time like in a ketogenic state, but as a staple in his approach for gaining body mass or even competition was manipulating his macros during the day, but always for dinner he have a huge big steak, a horse steak, and a real huge big plate of rice and beans. So was it the main factor why most of the people when live in cities as the Dominican Republic or Santo Domingo, they do not get lean? Because in our society and people that live very near to cities that are very crowded, sleeping quality is disastrous. It's not good. First, the pollution for the electromagnetic field. First, you spend 2-3 hours in the traffic to go home. So you create an environment in your brain, and that's actually, you are an expert in that you don't know how to switch off your brain regarding your neurotransmitters. So what we got in hand in Dominican Republic is we got one of the best sources of carbs, plant roots, plantains, sweet potatoes, even some plant roots that nobody knows in other part of the world. First of all, as we talk about inflammation, they do not create inflammation because there are no cereals. They don't have lectins. They don't have gluten. So what I did was use from everything, I used a little part. First, I knew that not having carbs in the morning not only improve your neurotransmitters that are good for focus like dopamine and acetylcholine, But beside that, when you don't have carbs in the morning, you teach your cells, your metabolism, how to be more efficiently using free fatty acids as energy. Because first meal dictates how you're going to behave in your brain and your cell level. So there's no carbs. Having no carbs from an evolutionary perspective is almost like fasting. What really the difference between eating or not is not eating, is the insulin response. So that was my breakfast is always very, very, very high in fat. Fat that do not create inflammation. It means everything that is not refined, like canola, soy, corn, etc. So what I saw in my clinical practice is that people that are having that kind of breakfast that was really high in fat and very, very good in protein, source protein or red meat for dopamine, all the stuff, hunger just went down. Sometimes they spend few hours than an average, like 5, 6, 7 hours without feeling even anxiety. Why? Because anxiety comes from the lack of serotonin, or when the first meal that you have some carbs, you teach your GI tract to rely on sugars to create balance between the neurotransmitter that keep you on and the one that switch you off. So it's not complicated, but when you understand from deep inside your GI tract how it's a connection between your brain. So I create that breakfast. That is not my creation. It's what you see it, what Wolfgang says, CP, all the people from functional medicine. And even today in the Metabolic and Medical Institute, they are recognizing the importance about having no carbs in the morning in order to manipulate insulin. So this is my breakfast, usually. Dopamine, teaching your body to use only free fatty acids efficiently as fuel, it's not only sugars, and beside that, preparing your GI tract. So lunch, because this is not a diet that is, anyone can do it, but it's more oriented to regular people. So most of the people say, hey, I sometimes spend 8 hours, I feel no hunger. Why many people today, as we know, fail in the diet? Anxiety is the reflection of a need. Most of the people have many needs when it comes to deficiencies. And our bigger deficiencies not come from a specific, it could be vitamins or something, it's about neurotransmitters. So your brain is going to request certain type of food, especially sugars or sugar and salty food that replenish something that you're lacking, that you're supposed to be replenished when you sleep. So the diet goes like that. So the big difference is that only 2-3 meals, depends on your hunger, and the last meal is the most important in order to create that mental a GI tract environment to allow you to get a deep sleep. And I see the results. And actually I can tell this is a contribution to the society in Dominican Republic that I give because I give it for free. My book is about to come with more details when it comes to the clinical aspect to improve lipids, improves insulin sensitivity, all the stuff. But that's basically the Simo Diet.
I'm a big fan of the approach. For everybody that listens to my podcast, to the German episodes, what I recommend is a 50-50 diet, which is basically half vegan, half carnivore.
Sure.
Which is very similar to what you recommend, as we both have a very similar approach to nutrition and a very similar approach to training. So the base idea is have protein and fats throughout the day, and then have protein, and if you deserve them,
sure,
carbs at night, improve sleep, improve the GI tract, improve your well-being.
And actually something that I wanted to share with you that most of the people know, you know that, but not most of the people. There's a quote that I used to every person in my consult from the physician, the Dr. Caroline Miss, that said your biography becomes your biology. For example, the biology of Dominican is not the same for a German that lives in Stuttgart. Some students came to me, your clients, in this last week in the area of my facility, Human Performance. He said, sometimes I don't have carbs, maybe because you don't need them, But in Dominican Republic, it's a small island, it's a small country, third world that we live. It's a happy country, good stuff, but we got a lot of cows when it comes to politics, when it comes to security, things that happen, but usually around the world, but over here, because it's so small, the more you think, the more you are aware of it, the more stress you create. So maybe for someone in Dominican Republic, having everyday carbs at night is what suits them, but maybe someone that live abroad in more developed countries, there's no need for that because you don't have those concerns. So usually people will get cravings in relation to their environment. I always said when you crave for something, give what you crave. Usually depends what you crave. Fuck it. But the thing is that the solution is to find out why you have those cravings. It's a deficiency, can be amino acids, can be a vitamin. You need to do it. You need to give what you're lacking. Because the human being, because it's in the top, in the evolution, we are adapt very efficiently to any change, even when it's the bad one. That manifestation that we are stronger in that position actually allowed us to do not listen to our brain eventually on time. But if you want to change what you are, it's not about what to do, it's what you remove. Maybe some people would say that you're good on that. Actually, I'm very, very fascinated about your approach to neurotransmitters. It's actually what you're gonna do to buy maybe supplementation for neurotransmitter if you live in a complete polluted environment with a cellular phone Wi-Fi. So there's no way to fix that. So you got a fire. In one side you put just a cup of water to turn it off, but you put wood on the other side. So the heat is gonna be there. You can drop a little bit, but it's gonna be completely burning. So it's very important to understand that a need that you have is gonna become an anxiety. So anxiety is a manifestation on a need. For a regular person, when you work with someone that understands those issues, it's more easy to get results because you know where you're lacking. For example, in your case, you use a lot of the Braverman tests, and you have your own way to test people to find out what they're lacking. That's why people get results so fast. Because if you make someone to go in a very low carb diet, but it's very low in GABA and serotonin, it's not gonna do it. Even when they try harder, then you're gonna compromise sleeping. That's why it's very important to take into account that only by knowing where your from comes and what to remove that are not the right habits that you have, is the only way to change.
100% agree. Especially the point you made with the phone and electricity. We just been last weekend to Punta Cana, and our friend Rowan, who joined the camp last week, came with us.
Yes.
And he used an Aura ring, which assesses sleep quality and the heart rate variability, which is a good indicator of nervous system function. And after one day in Punta Cana, which is much different than Santo Domingo. Santo Domingo is a big city with 4 million people. And Punta Cana is basically by the beach, a lot of green, a lot of nature, not many people. His heart rate variability improved by 40 points. So just being out of the city for one day already basically improved his nervous system function quite a bit. Same thing as the weekend before, we went to Las Terrenas. Everybody that visits the Dominican, I highly recommend go to the North Coast. There's not many tourists because there's no big airport close. So you basically have to drive. Wherever you land, it's about 2 to 2.5 hour drive. From Santo Domingo, it's 2.5 hours. So it's only small hotels. It's a lot of natures. It's empty, beautiful beach. It's great food. Sleep there. I've been there like 5-6 times now. And every time I went, it's like sleep 9 to 10 hours, have a big meal, some of the best sleep you can get.
And actually, as a background as a bodybuilder, then I'm very, very obsessive about body composition. Eating sometimes not as good as you eat Santo Domingo, just by being there and be in an unpolluted environment, you lean out in 24 hours. So most of the people underestimate the power of the environment because society today and social media teach you only to measure what it can be measured in numbers. So for example, how many hours, but they don't look for quality. Sometimes 6-7 hour quality of sleep can be better than 21 hours that you can put like one day after hour or another one in a very polluted environment. So it's a rule of thumb from a functional perspective when it comes to medicine and trying to bring all the aspects that aim to longevity and health. I tell people not to give up their life, but try to bring balance. And actually that aspect is very important to look in every aspect of your life. Relation, business, training, recovery. So you can train as hard, as good as you can recover. For example, I've been in several seminars like the one we just conducted last week, and usually after the weekend, those weeks training, just being away for 3 or 4 days, away from the gym, just eating, allowing to eat good quality food, and especially sleeping and being exposed to the sun, I can see a dramatically change in my body just by doing that. So it's very important to understand, just to move on to our conversation, that the first question you need to say is that from where I come from, because your biology is the result of your biography, or your biography becomes your biology. And the main question that most of the people do is what I have to buy, what supplement, or this fuck is good. But the first step to do is to know what to remove. Let's say, for example, in Dominican Republic, but maybe it's not that common in other countries, especially in Europe, we are very, very, very alike the United States when it comes to this oils that we use for cooking. We never used to be like that 40 years ago, but now, you know how it's the market. We're very close to the United States, a great country. I'm a pro-American when it comes to admiring what they do for a country, but actually it's a very sick country, because actually they're not oriented about being healthy. But this is another issue. But the thing is that we are assuming the high consumptions of vegetable refined oils, especially Kanal, all the stuff, even they sell it as something that is good. And I have some people that regard what they eat. I just give instructions about take away from their cabinets all the vegetable oils. And we're not talking about even to change their macros, how the way they eat. And some people get leaner. Just in a couple of weeks, inflammation goes away, start sleeping better. People that are very, very, very little depressed improve their stable well-being when it comes to the brain function. Because it's very important to understand when you talk about your biography becomes your biology. Biology is starting your GI tract. GI tract actually downs or upregulate everything from recovery, sleeping, insulin, hormone like testosterone, IGF-1, growth hormone, everything, even neurotransmitters. Because in our country, I've seen in many years, like there's a ramp-up tendency to obesity. And the first thing we need to ask, what's the different things we've been doing the last 30, 20 years? Is in our market is going to be completely full in all the supermarkets about vegetable oil. It's not that because it's there. They sell it and promote it like better than saturated fat or olive oil, even real butter.
Which causes a lot of problems, primarily inflammation, but also has a big impact on neurochemistry, recovery, and so on.
Yeah.
When it comes to fats, one thing when someone asks me about Dominican, or if I tell someone about the Dominican, that I always bring up first is the incredible food quality. So I've traveled to many countries in the world, but there are very, very few where the quality of food is as high as in Dominican. Like you have avocados that are the size of a coconut. You have mangoes. Usually when you get a mango in Germany, it's like somewhat dry. Here, you peel a mango with your hand and the juice is flowing all over your hands. The steaks, you don't need to put seasoning on the steak. Like you just grow it and the flavor is so intense. Food quality is something that's very, very special to the Dominican. Why?
I do believe because we still grow our own food. You know what I mean? For sure, when you go to a supermarket, you can see the shelters, the typical cereals that are Kellogg's, any brand, right? But when you go to the countryside, still the staple of those people are plant roots, plantains, yuca is cassava, sweet potatoes, and actually is the way it's intended by nature. So still we can get in here all those kind of fruits and let's say natural vegetables, to call it this way, like organic, like not manipulated by or no GMO. It's very cheap, it's very common down here. And I actually get a lot of people, especially a lot of Dominicans, that are trying to make a better living. They just leave the country and go to live to a state or Europe. Or one of the things that they started missing right away is the taste of the food. For example, I have a client that flew a few weeks ago to Dubai. And I said, we got there, a lot of luxury, something completely great. We order steak, we order vegetables, we order this and that. It was really beautiful on the plate, but tastes like nothing. Tastes like nothing. It's incredible. You cannot difference what's going on, what's in that food, that steak, what that rice, that potatoes, and everything. And actually, I insist, your biography becomes your biology. So it's not what you put in your plate, it's from where it comes from. So in Dominican Republic, we still produce a lot of our stuff, especially, for example, as a paradox, I mean, something that can sound weird, our domestic beef, even without the intention of being organic, is by far better than the organic in the United States in many places, because our countrymen, people that do raise the cattle, actually, they don't have the luxury to buy expensive cereals or something, so they need to allow the cows to be freely walking and having the grass or the grass fed, So that's why, and actually that's one of the biggest attraction for people that live by performance. So someone that know that what you put in your mouth is not gonna be only for muscle or fat, it's for brain function. That's why I believe DR maybe is one of the best destination for that. Because first, I know there's many places around the world that you can get maybe something very similar to us, but it's very affordable. So for example, over here, a good dinner in a very high class restaurant with a big steak, maybe a glass of wine or something like that, the average cost is $35, $40 in one of the expensive ones. If you go to a cheaper one, the quality of the food is the same, maybe it's not luxury, you can do it with $18, $20. So actually it's a good country for living. As every place, we have our cons and our pro, but actually when it comes to food, we rule in the market.
Food, climate, it's basically there's no season. I remember the first time I came, I asked what time is the best to come? Do you have winter? And it was basically your answer was, basically it's the same all year. We have summer 12 months.
Summer 24 months, yes.
And it's the case. Basically a cold day, it's 27, 28 degrees. A hot day, it's 32, 33 degrees. If it's raining, it can be raining like storm. And one hour later, it's blue sky, perfect sun. It's some of the best climate I've ever experienced.
Actually, people that never been here, they come from Europe or they come from America, they wake up in the morning and see complete stormy, completely rainy, windy, like a disaster because we get a lot of water in the street, floating, right? And just 10 a.m. is completely dry. It's like somebody turn off the microwave. So it's completely hot, blue sky, ready for the beach. And actually, because we're a small island, you can get a beautiful, beautiful beach just 40 minutes, 1 hour away from the city. And if you want to go to our most favorite paradise destination, we go 2 hours driving, 2 hours and a half, slowly to Las Terrenas, as you said before.
Good for recovering from training, which is also one point. I remember the first time I came to your gym, one of the things that I recognized immediately, everybody has good legs, good back, and next to everybody having well-developed musculature, everyone's strong. So that's one of the things these days that I miss. There's guys that are big, but a lot of them are very weak, especially if you look at bodybuilding. A lot of these bodybuilders can barely bench press their body weight. I've seen guys weighing 130 plus kilos and bench pressing 140 kilos for 6 reps. I know there's a handful of Mr. Olympia competitors that can't even bench press 140 kilos. And you go to your gym, basically everybody has a good squat, everybody has a good deadlift, everybody can bench, and everybody can do a ton of chin-ups, which is something that you've seen a lot in bodybuilding, the 70s, 80s, old school bodybuilding, yet it's not around anymore, which I'm a big fan of. And as I know, you're a big fan of old school bodybuilding. You have basically read every book that's out there on guys like Vince Gironda, Frank Zane, Serge Nubret, and you have learned a lot from them. And basically you have applied more the old school bodybuilding way and less, but still some of the more modern bodybuilding approaches. How that came about? Why are you stuck on the more, okay, we need to get strong, but we also need to move volume to get big?
Let's go back to 1994. I say when I was a teenager, imagine in an era, and all the people at my age know what I'm talking about, especially in third world country. We have, I don't know, computers. I mean, it was no computer, but we have actually zero way to get information how to improve our physique when it comes to bodybuilding. So actually the big guy that we saw at the moment, there was a few one, and actually bodybuilding was an underground sport, completely underground, only people with very low society class was doing bodybuilding, we have only little tools. So we only have for back, pull-ups, chin-up bars, only that. Only dumbbells, no cables for doing heavy rows, and deadlift. For squatting, we only did a specific order exercise. If we were to train 1 hour and a half, 1 hour, at least 60% of the time we're doing squat, heavy squat, and we only see as a way to become bigger, become stronger. So we actually got bigger as a side effect about lifting heavy. I remember our biggest admiration to the big guys, not was because they were big, it how many weights they move in the bar. It's what easy to see guys with 500, we use pounds here, 500 pounds, 400 pounds for reps, 300 pounds, or starting from the empty bar, building up to 5, 6 plates, full squat, every size, or doing guy, spending 1 hour doing bench press, trying to get a pump, combining sometimes bench press. So the thing is that I came from school that we have not too many options. Not having too many options makes things simple. The simpler it is, the more you get results. I do believe today too much information make people dumb, make people to be changing every Sunday or every Monday what they want to accomplish. If they go on social media, see a guy bench pressing 600 pounds, they want to become powerlifter. Next week, they see a guy rip 6 packs, they want to lean out. They see a guy with 21-inch arms, they want to do arms. They see a CrossFitter that doing a lot of stuff in the CrossFit game, they want to be CrossFitters. So everybody today doesn't know exactly where you want to go. But my first question to everyone would be, what do you want to be? What do you want to accomplish with your body? So today we live in the era of malinformation. So today there's so many information that take you nowhere. It's very easy, especially in our society. So when you ask about why in my facility my guys looks like that, it's because we stick to the basics. For sure, I'm not taking credits to the guys today, but if you're aiming to have a very long life, being capable until your last day to do pull-ups, chin-ups, full range of dips, heavy squat, deadlift, that's what you need to be spending more of the time in order to get results. So when you talk about that description that you're saying, that's what I call functional hypertrophy. Because it's something that I learned from you. I'm a fan of learning. I always live with an empty cup in order to be able to fill it up. In the middle of the class this week, I was talking about time or attention. Came out that you say, I don't use that much because that can change to everyone. Someone can do functional hypertrophy sometime over 40 seconds. Other people only with 10, 15 seconds, they can get functional hypertrophy. But at the end, what really counts are results. So I came up with this. You become functional, not exactly for the method that you use, it's for the exercise that you choose. You see a guy, stone plates. He could do with 5 plates, 20 kilo each side, 22 reps. Full, straight back, deep, smiling, struggling but smiling with a lot of grace. That's functionality. Someone could have today the legs of Tom Platz and get it by hack squat or heavy leg press. He get the result for being staged. But that's why today average trainers or bodybuilders, when they stop competing in 6 months, they look like never being in the gym. Because the muscle that you get doing all that kind of exercise, I know argue with the results to go on stage, but for longevity, integrity of the joints, what really is going to determine what fiber you're going to be targeting is what happens in the connection between your body and your brain. So when you can do high reps in hack squat, or doing a leg extension, or doing the leg press, part of your brain needs to fire nothing. It's just about muscular metabolic recruitment. And we know as a strength coach, our background that is most focused on performance, nothing beats mechanical tension. And mechanical tension don't come about the primal mover, that execution. Is how your brain needs to put in orchestra your body in order to keep the integrity of the joint, your spine, to do heavy squat, do heavy deadlift without belt. So that's what I call functionality. There's many guys that are good in what they do, but I always do not see what is your speech or your statement. What really, for me, make me buy your system is the results that I see in your clients. So if you get me someone that is very thick and become big, but it cannot do at least 28, 30 chin-ups, full range of motion with your body weight, that's not functionality. It's not bad, but you're working only in the label, not in the content of the bottle. So for me, functionality comes putting everything together. What is together? Know how to create muscles without losing the capability of putting your body in a free environment that is not adjustable to equipment. Besides that, we know as a fact that for brain function, relative strength is actually paramount. When it comes to increasing insulin sensitivity, you want to create more mechanical damage to the metabolic stress. So it's a very complicated issue, but the thing is that when you are dogmatized about one system, you are doomed to do not be able to perform in life for your rest of your life.
Which is one good thing, which I also like about the way you've come up in bodybuilding. You've tried so many different systems. You've went heavy duty, Mike Mentor. You went the exact opposite, giant sets like Milos Sarcev, which from my standpoint is the most elite form of hypertrophy training. So giant sets, for everybody that's not aware yet, it's basically doing 4 or more exercises in a row with no rest in between. No rest is basically somewhere 0 to 10 seconds. And the most you've ever done was for legs, 34 exercises. So one giant set is 34 exercises in a row, no rest in between. So that's a very, very elite form of training. I like to compare it to an ultra marathon, which is one of the first points with giant sets. You need to build up to it. It's same as running an ultra marathon, same as running 100 kilometers an hour. If you start running, you don't go and run a half marathon, a marathon, and then an ultra marathon. You basically go step by step. You run a kilometer, you run 5 kilometers, you run 10 kilometers. And eventually, if your goals are high enough, you end up at running an ultra marathon, or in a strength training sense, you end up at doing giant sets, which is basically Milos Sarcev, which is after Arnold, the most photographed bodybuilder of all time. He lived with you and worked at your gym for 10 months. And you basically did giant sets with him
for almost a year.
For almost a year, yeah. 10 months.
One of the things that I learned, because everything's a learning process. Even I'm not a very good sensitive guy when it comes to carbs. Being exposed to giant sets for a year and building and adapting to the system completely changed my metabolism. I'm going to repeat it again. For sure, the only way to grow is to train and to eat out of your comfort zone. I'm going to repeat this. The only way to improve and grow only is to train and to eat out of your comfort zone. So from being a guy that used to compete with an average or complete full ketogenic diet, I wasn't that big. I've been training for Milos when I went to the Mr. Universe in Guayaquil, Ecuador. Actually put me completely in the opposite direction, but because I was trusting him a lot, I didn't even think about arguing or not trusting his judgment. So the first thing we did was to prepare meals every day. So from being a guy that only have carb post-workout at dinner at the moment, I wake up, stick to the protein and fats in the morning for neurotransmitter because we were training in the afternoon. But I have the same meal the rest of the day. Every 3 hours, I have one sort of proteins and one sort of carbs. And I eat it completely steady every 3 hours. So having only a day 100, 150 grams of carbs, I was going up first 600, 800, over 1,000 grams of carbs per day. I repeat, over 1,000 grams per day.
How heavy were you back then? 100 kilos?
So I went from an average 90 kilo, I went to 110. Rip to the bone, peak.
How tall are you? 170?
Yeah, 170. Not that tall, you know what I mean?
170, 110 kilos.
Yeah.
In shape.
In shape. Completely in shape, is created. But the good things about that, even I did a lot of bodybuilding before, while I was moving in the process of adaptation of the giant sets methods, when I became more efficiently, I changed completely my genetics makeover. So when I became officially, if I had no carbs before go to bed, I repeat, I have carb every 2-3 hours. I have dinner, and I had to prepare a big, large bowl of oatmeal with cinnamon, apple or bananas, ground and some maybe almond milk, sometimes water, honey, big, and eat it. And sometime between dinner, that was an hour before go to bed, and go to bed, I start sweating because I was getting hypoglycemic. Why? Because I changed completely my metabolism. It means being small, being weak, for sure, that's what you are meant, but you are doomed to be there. If you know how to work, if you know how to put everything together, and you are willing, that's the most important point. If you are willing to change your mind, you can change your body. Changing your mind means getting out of your comfort zone. Getting out of your comfort zone is do the opposite you've been doing lately when it comes to nutrition and training, and you can create the magic. Most of the people have the excuses. Oh, I weak, I don't grow, or I cannot go high reps, or I cannot go that heavy. Maybe what is stopping you to get there is your mindset. So when you want something really hard, really badly, and you have the right guidelines, it's very important to do that. You can accomplish whatever you want into your potential, but you can find out your true potential. So after those a month, year with Milos, I came up with this quote that says, 1 hour of training with the right person worth more than 1 decade of reading. Just by sitting there, because I'm the typical guy, if you're gonna coach me or we're gonna train together, maybe because we're so close, I can ask you. But if not, I will just follow your step. I won't ask you, okay, what we're gonna do today. We're in the gym, I go to work. So I follow your step, and I learn from everything. How you breathe, how you approach the load, how you engage the muscle, how fast you go. I don't even need to ask what's gonna be. I just follow your step. So by being there, we got big guys in the industry, even you. I have to say I learned a lot by being with you in Germany about your neurotransmitters, how you approach your programs and everything. Milos, Charles, and many other trainers and big figures of the industry. I learned just by being with her 1 hour what it took me 10 years of reading. Because reading only gives you a view, but only when you go deep in the trench is actually when you get the wisdom. Before that, it's your only knowledge that can be completely malfunction. You can be just switching one knowledge from the other one because somebody know how to sell his philosophy. But if you don't take that philosophy that you are telling me now or anyone else, and I can prove that it works, it will be there just in the clouds. In order to bring it to the ground, you need to practice. Practice with your heart and give 100%. So there's no way you can replace hard work. Besides hard work, when someone's going to sell you something, do not allow them to talk too much. Ask for the results.
Yeah, the practical experience I'm a big fan of. The classic one I always see is 50% of the time, if I give a client for the first time 10 sets at 10 reps, squat, 4010 tempo, and 3 minutes rest, they're like, at the end, they're like, oh, that's it? And I'm like, okay, do the workout one time. It looks easy on paper, do it one time. And regularly clients come back, be like, oh, these 10 sets of 10, like I was done after. Like I couldn't move anymore. It looks good and easy on paper, but once you've done it, it's much harder than it looks. Which is also one point some listeners might like go like, okay, Juan Carlos is not that carbohydrate tolerant. He did giant sets, and after that, he was very tolerant to carbohydrates. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do giant sets too. Yet, giant sets are a lot harder than what you think. And give an example of a giant set. So how does a giant set look?
I can tell. That's how I came up with this, like 1 hour with the right person training worth a decade of reading. I'm so grateful about all the situation that bring Milos to my practice for almost a year. But just by being with him, I learned what it looks like. So actually, I told you before that doing by yourself in a gym, by yourself, you can do it, but never it's going to be as efficiently have a training partner. That one challenge to the other one. So a giant set is something like takes more, excuse me for saying, balls and guts than only doing it. You know what I mean? Because actually you're supposed to be using every possible system in every set. Or the way Milos call it, every rotation. So a rotation is you pick, the minimum should be 4 exercises, as you said. It can be even 30 exercise, even more exercise, depends how you build and adapt to the system. But giant sets is something that you want to create every possible stimulus in the fibers to create, or you get killed or you survive, you become stronger. It's one way to be said. So giant sets are designed, depends on the experience of the person. Let's say a regular client of ops, you can start doing maybe only 2 exercises. Even you can call it giant set from 4 exercises, the same body part in a row. You can start with 2 for the first 2 weeks just to build resisting adaptation with the right nutrition protocol to it. So the best manifestation that you're doing it right is you're growing right away, because actually it's the maximum way of accumulation. So your body will pull back what you're using. The harder you use it, the deeper, the more intense, the more it's gonna pull back. Just to give a number that is, you're the guy who's good at numbers. For example, let's say you have 10 units of glucogen in your quads, 10 units, and you just do 2 rotations of 3 exercises, and you feel that there's no more way to contract the muscle. If you eat well, if you use 10, you're supposed to put back 12 or 15. So the more you put in the tank, because it's muscle, it will adapt getting bigger. So there will be more accumulation sarcoplasmatic. That's the best manifestation. If you're doing giant sets and you're not getting those results, it's because you either are not using the right protocols or you're not eating properly for that. Let's go in part. So when it comes to pick up the exercises, giant sets is meant for bodybuilding. That doesn't mean you cannot use in one of the exercises, usually at the beginning, one heavy stuff. But the heavier you go or the more complex is the exercises, the next one need to drop in the intensity when it comes to total muscle recruitment. Let's say you go heavy squat. You're a strong guy that maybe can do for reps. Let's say, because that's the number that you manage with your clientele, 200 kilos, 6-8 reps, full squat, pass the bar, exploding exo up. A guy that do that is like having a 12-cylinder car. So that guy, when he moved to a second exercise, you cannot go like a heavy hack squat for 20 reps. Maybe you can go to leg extension, very light, in order to allow his cardiovascular system to recover to the output of all the energy expenditure in the first exercise. So you do heavy squat, then you go to leg extension. So leg extension actually is a recovery, but you're still contracting the fiber of the quads. It's the primal mover. Then you move to another compound or complex that do not require a lot of neuromuscular coordination, or leg press, or pendulum squat, or hack squat with the barbell, something that actually keep putting more demand in the glucogen reserve in the quads. So you go building like that. If you're pretty strong and very exposed to accumulation, it means hypertrophy, you can do like 1 heavy stuff complex, 1 isolation, 1 heavy, or 2 heavy, 1 isolation. So you build your product about your experience. We come back to the same quote: your biography dictates your biology. So if you are a good strength coach, if you know your job, you know how to choose or pick exercise, because everybody have their own body language. It will tell you he can handle more. I always said a good coach is someone like a pilot. You get paid to take someone maybe from London, Heathrow to New York City safe. So when you get paid as a coach to someone to do giant sets or any kind of program, your goal is to pick the best exercise, to get the result for what you get paid, but keep people safe.
It's a very good point. I like that metaphor. So you did a lot of giant sets over the year, and you build up. And actually, one of the craziest, if not the craziest, training story I've ever heard was when you told me, like, I asked you about squatting and giant sets, and then you said, what we once did was 10 sets of 10 with 60 seconds rest on a back squat. Mm-hmm. So everybody who has done 10 sets of 10 with 3 minutes, try 10 sets of 10 with 2 minutes, and then try 10 sets of 10 with 60 seconds. The 3 programs sound very, very similar, but if you do it in practice, it's like completely different. 60 seconds feels like 1, 2, 60, go.
Actually, when you go the first set with the low, the first one, you say, I thought it's gonna be easy. But the stronger you are, the less efficient you are in high reps. I repeat, the stronger you are, I mean, you use a high friction motor units, you are more fast twitch fiber. So 10 reps is a lot. It's my case. But I did it. I was eating for that. That's why I came and changed my makeup when it comes to metabolism to become more efficiently using glucose as my primary fuel. So when you do the first set, it's gonna be easy, So when you put the rack back and you go for the second one in 60 seconds, you feel like you have already done 8 and you're not even moving the bar. So it will be like going, even you do 10, you feel you're gonna do 18 reps. And you keep building so on. But we were a team of 3 or 2, Milos and I myself. So he just gives no time for me. I put the bar, he got into the bar. He got off, started doing squat, bang, bang, bang. He finished, he said, JC, your time. He said, no. It's not time for drinking water. Go for the set. So you're being exposed to that high level of lactic acid, metabolic stress is something that you really, really, really need to be guide for someone that have more guts for the system. As I said sometimes, the only way to work out of your comfort zone, the only way to grow is to work out of your comfort zone. And believe me, somebody asked me, will you do back again giant sets? Maybe, but not because I choose to. That doesn't mean I become a coward. But actually, in life we change. For sure, if I decide to compete against bodybuilding, that will be my first set. My first election when it comes to pack very fast in size will be giant sets, for sure. But doing legs or deltoids is something out of this world. The legs, you feel you're gonna die, pass away, because you are short of breath. You got a guy that go with a very slow voice saying, don't worry, it's only pain, keep moving, you know what I mean? It's something crazy, And when it comes to shoulder, you believe your arms is gonna just split in the floor, you know what I mean? Because shoulders are very sensitive to lactic acid. Maybe, I don't know, it's because the neuroconnection about the plexobrachial, I don't know if it's in English, but actually you feel like you're gonna just die for the pain, like somebody is you in your shoulders. But the results are amazing, the results.
It's the best results because it's the furthest outside the comfort zone.
Yeah, I've been there. I can tell you that. But it's something somebody that loves to train and love to see results when it comes to, and you say, to maximum hypertrophy, it's a must. That's the fastest shortcut to get there. But it needs to be very careful.
It's a rough shortcut.
You have a rough because actually you're on the highway, then you go off-road. That's the way to say it.
So 10 sets at 10 squat, 60 seconds, but that wasn't the workout.
No, actually, we did after that 3 rotation, everyone 14, 16 exercise in a row. And sometimes a set or an exercise is not only doing 10. We spend sometimes 2-3 minutes only doing a different version without getting off the machine in the half squat or the power squat. Let's say, for example, the rack is completely full. You go full out, 2 reps, 9 plates each side. He take 1 away, give me another 1 away, 1 away. So go counting. So when it was complete like 1 plate, so you just rack it off, switch the position of the body, facing away from the machine, and you start loading back. Give me 2 reps, put another plate, 2 reps, 2 reps, 2 reps. And when you think it's done, then you go outside to do walking lunges. And then so on. The guy is something like Milos is something like this is out of the world. And I do believe, with all respect, is the most underrated bodybuilding coach in the history of bodybuilding. And in one occasion I saw a guy named Andy Bell when he was living here. Andy flew all the way from Perth, Australia, to be here for a few weeks. It was like 3 weeks, but he only trained like 2 weeks. And I saw this guy gain a little bit above 20 kilo, or sarcoplasmatic, or whatever you want to call it. The guy looks as a freak after 2 weeks. For sure, this guy came over here to do 2 sessions per day, only Sunday off. So he was only eating, sleeping, and training. It was something out of this world. So the guy did a big change in only these 2 weeks. And actually, not beside that, is the big process of learning. 1 hour of training worth more than a decade of training or reading.
And that type of training, we had one guy last week that came in the week at 96 kilos, and finished the weekend Friday at 105.9. So basically put on 9.9 kilos in a week. So a lot of volume, recovering, and eating a lot of food, which is one thing that I strongly believe that most underrate. Like, you do not know exactly how much you need to eat to actually grow, which is one of the reasons why many, I can grow, I can get bigger, I'm a hard gainer. No. You're just eating way too little. Most people do not understand they need to train and eat outside their comfort zone. Like, not being hungry is by far not having eaten enough. Eating outside your comfort zone is where the body is forced to grow.
I like to go to the base. The only way to grow is to eat and train out of your comfort zone. Nobody gets big lifting light. Nobody get big eating light.
Unless you're a genetic freak.
Fuck, yes. But actually, we're talking about the average person. So if you're complaining, it's because you're not getting results. If you're complaining you're not getting results, there's something usually that goes, assuming that you know how to train, you're not eating. Wolfgang, it's very often you see people that go to a seminar to train twice a day, and they're asking about how many calories, you know what I mean? For sure, it's very important. In certain way, depends on your philosophy, what's the amount you're eating. But when it comes to the artistic part of nutrition, training and bodybuilding and physique changes, the best measurement is daily changes. So if you're training really hard and you feel weak next day, you feel like you're not recovery, like you're something, there's something that is missing. We know there's many facts that are going to influence recovery ability, but the only one that actually you can have in your hand, if you have the result to do it, is to eat good and a lot of food. Maybe you cannot be sleeping well for emotional issues, name it, what happened. But if at the same time you're not eating properly, it's going to be worse. So there's no way to grow if you keep only getting the napkin to clean the fat of the feet, the chicken, or you're trying to clean whatever extra thing oil that you see. If you have quality food, we mean food that is not inflammatory to your GI tract, even removing the things that are bad for you, even you eat more than before, it's more anabolic. This is what happened. We've been learning the wrong stuff for many years. We've been learning that the only way to grow is to load the bar, and just by being low without working, you're gonna grow. So you need to work it out, but you need to do the right exercise. You need to do the right pattern of motion. When it comes to eating, one of the biggest lies is that bodybuilders, all of them, eat clean all year round. So there's some people that can grow for sure as a bodybuilder in chicken and rice and egg whites and oatmeal, but that's not the average guy. That doesn't mean you're gonna spend the whole day having McDonald's or Burger King, but you need to eat a lot. You need to eat a lot. I repeat, you need to eat a lot. If you have a goal. Your goal is to become bigger and leaner, and actually healthier. Food choices and how much you eat is paramount. If you don't do that, there's no way to grow. And most of the people, especially female, because they are taught to, if I eat, I get fat, or if I eat a lot of protein, I become a man. That's why most of the time they do not move or progress in the program, because you only will adapt as much as you eat or properly for the program, as much you can rest. And actually, most of the people, and I sell a lot of supplements, I use a lot of supplements, but they don't pay attention about what they eat. So you cannot be as efficiently adapting to any program if you are still afraid or scared about eating a huge amount of food.
What's the bodybuilder you have known that ate the most?
Milos Sarcev. And on one occasion, and this story not come from me, came from Charles Poliquin. It happened to me here in Dominican Republic, but first I heard from Charles, I thought he was like making a joke that Charles had a girlfriend or something like that, I don't know, a friend, and then he baked dinner for 3 people. It was like a big bowl of pasta, like 2-3 packages, and I think it was like a 10 or 12 chicken breasts, in the grill, right? And Milos show up, got seated at the table, and they were just getting ready to bring all the stuff to the table, and they said to Milos, go and start eating. And they find out they just move all the pasta, put all the chicken on top of the food, of the bowl, and eat it all. Over here happened to me with Milos. And one occasion at Christmas, we invited him for dinner, and that guy ate a tremendous amount of rice, sweet potatoes, steaks, chicken, everything. But what is really amazing, Wolfgang, is seeing this guy eating so much or too much and keeping that small waistline. I tell this again and again. We know he's genetically used to that. So maybe a habit, I get fatter, maybe that amount of food. But when you have a healthy metabolism, your body will tell you when to eat, when to stop eating. It's the case when we went to Punta Cana with Ron. In one occasion, let's talk about his first flight when he came over here. I remember after spending the whole week training, we went to La Terrena and he got 3 plates of dinner, 2 dessert, and 2 glasses of wine. And he was measuring his blood sugar. It was completely very low. Wake up next day, pretty lean and more recovered. Who dared to do that? Most of the people live scared about everything. Most of the people do not try to listen to their body. There's always a voice like the demon at the angel that said, oh, you should eat more because you're hungry. So they say, no, don't do it because you're going to get fat. You know what I mean? But if you get the feeling, it's because something is going on. So this is the same quote that I told you a few minutes ago. An anxiety or the need for something is because you lack of something. So if you get the feeling to eat more, it's because you are running out of fuel.
Last week he was measuring glucose again, so he uses the continuous glucose monitor, which I love to use and use basically with all my moderate and advanced clients, which measures glucose every couple minutes, 24 hours a day. When he was having 2 long breaks in between meals, his blood sugar was going up. So he had to eat frequently to not have his blood sugar go up, which is to most people it's counterintuitive. They think like, hey, I'm eating carbohydrates, my blood sugar goes up. But actually in his case, most likely due to the high volume of training last week, when he was not eating for longer than 3 hours, his blood sugar rose. Basically, from a physiological standpoint, he was releasing cortisol.
And creating sugar from amino acids.
Creating sugar from amino acids.
That's something that you
breaking down muscle.
You don't want to. That's why one of the big issues actually, and we should make a podcast about that in the future, about fasting. Okay. One of the biggest mistakes that people make, for example, is fasting. Fasting is not for everyone. In one occasion, I remember I was giving a speech about why no fasting was good. And a gentle and a beautiful lady in the 50s said, I do fasting because the monk in the Tibet do fasting. Okay, yes, first you're not a monk. You don't live in the Tibet. And actually, beside that, you don't have the unpolluted environment that they live. So really work for some people abroad, that doesn't work for you. One of the problems about fasting when you're talking about rowing is when you fast, you age faster. Because when you have more stress, more pollution, more toxins, the main source of creating what it needs to improve the outcome is aminos. So when you do not eat because you're fasting, actually what you do is to fast the process of breaking tissue, not only the small muscles of the skin and collagen to create energy. So fasting needs to be very planned, and it's not something that you need to do on a regular basis.
That's also my point. Like fasting has its benefit, but don't overdo it. Most people that are into fasting, they do it way too many weeks in a row, or even way too many days in a row. So they're just creating more cortisol and creating a lot of metabolic problems down the road.
Sure.
So fasting, basically, we have the same stance.
That's why it's not what you think is what happens in your body. So that's why I like your approach about monitoring your respond to every meal, not eating while you sleep, because it gives you an idea of what's going on. Some of the people, when they don't eat, they tend to lose less fat, because when insulin is high, there's no way you can lose those triglycerides produce fat cells. What really allows to open the gate to those fat cells to get depleted for the triglycerides to be beta oxidized is insulin. If insulin is high, there's no way you're gonna get leaner.
So managing blood sugar is crucial. That's also one of the things in functional medicine that I like. I've also studied some functional medicine, and one of the things that you see in all different fields of functional medicine, managing blood glucose is an essential part. If you look into thyroid, if you look into androgens, if you look into stress management, if you look into blood sugar management, basically the whole thing is all about maintaining blood glucose, being the key to longevity, being the key to performance, being key to health and wellness.
Actually, what you said in the pyramid importance in functional medicine, glucose with the response on insulin is the big and most important market to live longer. Someone can have high cholesterol, for example, but they have very good management of the glucose and insulin. Probably, we know it's multifactorial, we do not create heart disease. Most of the people, sometimes with very in numbers of lipids in blood, develop heart disease. Why? Because insulin, in response to high glucose, is an inflammatory hormone. So one thing that I learned from Mark Houston and in the fellowship of cardiovascular and biology, whatever, is that atherosclerosis is a postprandial effect. So postprandial means respond to insulin to the effect of glucose in the blood. So that's why it's something that I need to say I learned from you. I mean, even I use it before as a marker, but not as accurate how you do it with the monitor, because everyone is completely different. Some people can do very well waking up in the morning, waiting for 3 or 4 hours without eating. Other people do bad. So the only way to know is about the method that you use. So the only way to know exactly what's going on in your body. And I say it again, most of the people believe the human body is 2 + 2 is 4. It doesn't work that way. Everybody's unique for many factors, but the only way to know what's going on is to know what's going on, not just to give an opinion or what all the things you hear or you read in social media or in some books, because everybody is unique when it comes to biochemistry, biology.
I'm a big fan of testing. I do a lot of skin folds, neurotransmitters. I do the continuous glucose monitor. One thing I'm not doing as much because I don't have the accessibility, which you do a lot because you have the accessibility, is lab work. This is one thing. You opened up your 5th gym a year ago, and it's a quite unique center. Basically, you have your gym in the back, and in the front, you have multiple doctors, cardiologists, specialists in regenerative medicine, and you have a lab in the same building as a gym. So basically, you can send your clients, get lab work, and in the afternoon, the lab work arrives, which is very, very special. I don't know of a single other gym in the world that has this type of setup. And you have decided to set up because you wanted it and you created the gym with the doctors like that. Yet last week we had a few guys that came for the seminar and they were like, oh, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And you were like, oh, to give you a point on that, we need lab work. So come tomorrow morning, first thing before the seminar, I get your blood drawn by the doctor, and by the afternoon we have the lab tests. And then you sat down and you were going over the lab test and results with the guys to give them specific feedback on the lab work, which is something I don't have available at that level, and something I really, really like.
I don't see anyone in my practice if they don't show off with the lab work over here in the Dominican Republic, because it's a more accurate way to show them what we know about the skin fold caliper, about when we do the Braverman test, or when we do, for example, just the first meeting. This is the way I do it when I make a lot of question about their lifestyle. So there's so many people, for example, we know as a fact, every males in their 40s, in my case, in the Dominican Republic, that come to my practice, and by the way they shape, the way they behave, they talk, even the way they have the distribution between fat and muscle, they have very, very low level testosterone. So, for example, male that wants to be a macho in the Dominican Republic, they will tell you that they have issue when it comes to regard their sex life. Well, when they come in here with the lab work and you see that their testosterone level are lower than my daughter of 12 years old, they can argue with the results, as I tell you before. So at the end, only by knowing that many people, when they see the result, they get more with commitment to do the program. Most of the people try to avoid the numbers because the numbers slap you in the face. So you cannot argue with the results. It's the same thing when you are monitoring the glucose and the insulin, for example. It will tell you an idea what's going on, so you cannot say, no, this is not working for me, because you have it in your face. So in my facility, the first thing I do when I just opened this last one a year or something, like a month ago, we've been open for 30 months already, 1 year a month, is we do it without having a lab in my office. Because actually, most of the people, when they come to your practice in Dominican Republic, especially for our environment, is really, really high polluted when it comes to noise. In the noise, Dominicans are very loud when they talk. They can be completely alone in the street only by thinking somebody's coming. They just horn, right? So it's very Dominican, a lot of dopamine, a lot of energy for the sun. So stress is very high. So people do not understand when you're telling stress is killing you. So people coming here, they supposedly do exercise, eat supposedly very well, but the blood work, when you get the blood drawn, you get the results right away. You can tell that this is what's going on. This is why you think weak. This is why you cannot sleep. This is why your sex drive is not appropriate for your age, or it's very low. So when they see that, they open their eyes and say, oh, fuck, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. So that's an advantage that I have here in Dominican Republic.
What lab markers do you usually test?
I don't go yet. Even we have it, like saliva. We got organic acids, other stuff. We have them. First, people that come in here that are not like sick big time, but they're fat, metabolic stress. The most important for me, because they tell me a lot about their metabolism, is a marker for adrenal gland. Is DHA sulfate. I do cortisol AM and PM. I use pregnenolone as the mother of androgens in the body, or pregnenolone is the mother of what is called the steroids in the body. So when you start making from cholesterol, you either a pregnenolone you convert to testosterone or cortisol. Usually it's more complex than that, but to make it harder. So I do pregnenolone, as I say, DHA sulfate, cortisol, AMPM. Then I do testosterone, and I do testosterone. After that, I do the panel when it comes for glucose. I do fasting glucose, fasting insulin, hemoglobin glycosylate. Beside that, I do panel of lipids, because I have a cardiologist. Someone coming here, for example, with very high lipoprotein A or lipids that really oxidize, I send it to the cardiologist just to have the case that he's capable to, after the screening, that he can do the exercise very hard. So this is my favorite mark. And vitamin D.
Thyroid?
Thyroid for chest. I do TSH, T3 free, and I'm bound, and I did T4. I explain you why. Usually, one of the main, let's say, readjustment when you are exposed to chronic stress is a readjustment of the thyroid. Most of the people have thyroid issue, not because they have that thyroid issue. It's a response to chronic stress. Chronic stress can be a lot of exercise, no recovery, low carbs, extreme, low calories, no sleeping. Everything that is a stress in your life that brings you very away from your natural environment will be down-regulating your thyroids. So your T4 is the one that you primarily produce in your thyroid, and the peripheral tissues and the liver need to be converted to the more active T3. So respond to stress, you start converting T4 to T3, and you convert it to reverse or RT3. So when the RT3 is too high, you compromise your health, especially your metabolism goes down, your mitochondria becomes slowly. Actually, you increase lipid in your blood. So there's a cascade of events. But the only way to address at what level you are in the adrenal gland fatigue stages is by addressing high of those hormones. There's a lot of people, that's one of the big things that people do not understand, that have a lot of fat in the body, that have marker of a metabolic stress that is not only related maybe to lack of exercise. I'm not saying no, but not only to lack of exercise or bad nutrition choices. It's chronic stress. And usually, because this is what happened in the Dominican Republic, the main factor that bring people to that level of health compromise by the thyroids and the adrenals is lack of sleep of quality. That's why I very, very, very big proponent of your protocols about neurotransmitters, because neurotransmitters will tell you exactly what's going on in your brain. You go to the roots, so you don't stay at the branches. So anyone that see that actually will know what's going on. So anyone that have very, very, very exposure to chronic stress, you need to repair your adrenals first before going to the thyroids. So you need to, when you repair your adrenals with a good adaptogen, maybe something to replenish the adrenal, like a panther thing or something like that, or some glands, gland extracts, you see people improving. There's a physician called Pamela Smith. She's one of the directors of the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. This is a clinical pair that we need to share. Someone that have chronic fatigue, replenish their adrenals takes sometimes 3 years of treatment. So it's not like taking an adaptogen for 1 month or 2 months, sleeping well, sleeping hygiene, reducing inflammation in your GI tract. When you are in track, getting completely recover your adrenals for the adrenal gland burnout or fatigue takes sometimes 3 years of practice, clinical practice, intervention, and keeping staying to the protocols. 3 years.
Most people highly underestimate how long it takes to go through certain processes, like from coming back from chronic fatigue to normal adrenal function, or another point is definitely training and eating to put on size and strength. Most people, what I always tell them, the majority overestimates what nutrition and training can do in the short term, and they underestimate what training and nutrition can do in the long term. Everybody's like, okay, I'll try this diet for 2 weeks. It's not working. Maybe your expectations are just not fitting the results you get.
Fuck, the best way to go is my diet. So I don't put people choose to do the diet because it's my social media. JC_Simo in Instagram, right? When it's the highlights, you can see it in English and Spanish. So people improve a lot. People that have chronic constipation get regular bowel movement. Start sleeping better. Maybe not 100%, but not sleeping 6-7 hours better. Sometimes people without even going to the gym, throw body fat, increase a little bit of muscle mass because they get no inflammation. So when you hit the point that there's no inflammation, you regain some status when it comes to muscle mass. Not for competing, it's because when you're inflamed, the status that you get in your muscle is not the one that you can reclaim, like the natural one. And some people ask me after 21 days, can I give up the diet? I say, okay, I have a question. As simple as that. You have a job that you don't like, that you work 18 hours a day, you only got 4 hours. 1 for bath, dinner, dined, and then 3 for sleeping. Then I give you a job, they give you 10 more time money. You only work 4 hours and you got 20 hours for yourself. So you have time for going out with the family, for reading. And then after 3 weeks, you're gonna request the last job. So it's not common sense. So when people say to me, for how long should I do it? I say, I've been doing it for 15 years. So it's not a diet because I need to have a name, but actually it's a life intervention. When you repair your GI tract, when you have the right food choices, that's happened with a lot of your students and my students, they become aware of what's wrong with them. We got the case of Nick Hesman over here. It's a very young guy, very successful in the business with his dad in Vienna. And the guy is a good judo fighter. He's really fit, pretty strong for his size, impressive. But he was talking about that, how sensitive he was. We went out one night for dinner, and he requested a dessert because he deserved the dessert, but he didn't ask if he have eggs. He have intolerance to eggs, or he's sensitive to it. So he spent the whole night going to the bathroom. Why? Because that's the way that everyone should respond to someone that is not good for you. But because we adapt to everything, sometimes people eat so bad that we need to survive. So what body does is something that is supposed to be getting out of your body, you start getting into your body. So that's why you get inflammation, get cortisol, get the wrong immune response. So as you said, when you improve by your diet is not the results of changing for 2 weeks. Any nutritional protocol or diet is not about counting calories, it's about getting results. Results is not about looking good. The first manifestation you should have when you do the right nutrition for you, the right diet, is a state of well-being. You feel more energized without pumping up your dopamine about stimulants or too much caffeine. You feel you can sleep better. You go to the gym, you get more motivated to the gym. You get even better sexual response. So everything that comes to improve performance should be the results of your choices. How to train, how often, how hard, when to stop, when to come back, how to eat, know what you're gonna be eating. So anyone who wants to improve their outcome by itself need to understand that your biography becomes your biology. Once you repair your body, you learn how to train, you learn how to eat, you buy really good TWUP quality supplements, you regain the vitality that you forgot that you have. When you have that, then you are willing to allow to bring some stuff because life is balance. Okay, so everybody who knows JC knows I love wine. I can skip any dessert for a glass, 1 or 2 glasses of wine. But if I'm gonna train and I have a show, I cannot drink because even 1 glass of wine will require me for sleeping more hours in order to overcome the oxidative stress in my liver. So instead of feeling after 7 hours complete recover, I will need maybe 9 hours because when you sleep is when your liver do the hard work. So the more toxin in your liver, and alcohol is a toxin, doesn't matter how good or how resveratrol you have the wine, I don't have the luxury to sleep in too much hour. So I need to make the best with the hour that I have. So everybody knows. So sometimes I get the wine. I pay the price because life is balanced. For sure, I don't have 2 bottles of wine daily, but this is how life. But most of the people, they do not know or they forget what it is to have wellness in all the aspect about muscle mass, joint integrity, being powerful, having insulin sensitivity, about the right choices about frequency, volume, sleeping, supplementation, frequency of eating, right choices, cooking at home. Beside that, dealing with emotions. So you need to say, I don't like to say this because it sounds like a yoga, something like a holistic approach. Holistic is not having like a candle in there singing. It's about understanding we as special beings, we respond to everything that is in our environment. An environment is not only what you got around you, it's what you got in your head and what you have in your GI tract. So everything takes or tax you or put money back. It's like a bank account. You made the right choices, it's like saving money. You do the wrong one, you withdraw money. Sometimes you need to withdraw money to maybe to buy stuff like it's a toy for Christmas. But if you only take things away, count will be in 0. And you're good in numbers as a German. So human body and health is about balance. As you say, how we start this? Training hard and resting hard. Most of the people get in the mode like not day off, they burn out. How many bodybuilders from the old school we knew they were great in the 20s, then disappear before getting to the 30s? They burn out. One of the things that I learned from Milos, because this guy was completely in shape all year round, he said to me, JC, I'm still in really good health, great shape, but I got some issues. Why? Because when Lee Haney, Lou Ferrigno, all the guys after the show took a month, 2 months off, I never stopped. So life is about balance.
Get food, sleep, train, get some sun, which is one thing you mentioned when we talked lab work, vitamin D. So you're measuring vitamin D here with everybody. In theory, everybody should have good vitamin D level here because there's sun all year. The people that are outside a lot, they have good vitamin D levels, yet a lot of your clients don't.
In order to do not value something, the first thing you need to have is to have it for yourself. We live in the Caribbean. I'm a big example. I don't go as much as you go to the beach. Living in here, average, I should go at least every week for 2-3 hours to get a sun bath. Not because to look good, it's because longevity and health. Dominicans over here, usually they spend too much hours, especially in the city. In the office, hanging around night. Nobody walk very often in here. So actually people, even we live in the sun, there's a really, really deep deficiency in all our population. From every 50 people that I see in my practice, only one can have an average of 50 or 70 vitamin D in their plasma, blood plasma, or serum blood cell. So the thing is that vitamin D needs to be measured. There's many things, and there's one thing, for example, I learned from you, and I learned from Charles for many of my courses. It's not about taking the sun without sunscreen, without polarized glasses. All that needs to be in account. Even how fast you take a bath with soap after taking the sun. So now there's a big epidemic of vitamin C. Vitamin D, sorry. But this is something that I want to share with you that I learned from functional medicine. Maybe you know that, but it's something new for me. One of the biggest issues that most of the people get the wrong reaction to the sun is because their intake of vegetables, refined vegetables, is too high. So when you eat a lot of omega-6 that come from canola, soy, sunflower, corn, etc., the response that you get in your skin is the wrong one, and you get cancer. So when you have the right large amount of good source of fats that are rich in fat-soluble vitamins like D, E, and A, real butter, olive oil, saturated fat, but you don't have the other fats, you become more resistant to adapt properly to the sun.
Didn't know. It's a very good point.
Yeah, actually
makes sense through inflammation.
Inflammation in the skin. So when you get sun, the response that you get inflammation is not the healing one. It's the damaging one. So they teach you first the sun give you cancer. I'm not saying to go there like as crazy to get sun for 6-8 hours every day the rest of your life.
Like the Germans that come to
Dominican Republic. I do believe for any reason they are doing some kind of paying penitencia, Catholic penitencia. They hit in the back when they go in the sun for hours, and they become completely black. Yeah, but that's German, right? As you, German on the extreme, right? Good in numbers, good in the sun, Dominicans in colors and all the stuff. It's joking. The things I got this information that depends how your membrane in the cell is built regarding what you eat as fat. The response that you get from the sun is completely different. So now we should take more sun to get the effects and benefits of vitamin D and longevity and neurotransmitters.
That's a very good point. And the plant oils come up again. We don't have that in Europe as much as you do in North America. We don't have as much plant oil, especially not the hydrogenated one. So hydrogenated plant oil, trans fats is a huge issue. Still, we have it. And we definitely have a lower intake of monounsaturated fats as you have in the DR. There's a huge culture in eating avocados. And it's not just the size of the avocado here, it's also definitely the taste. Like good avocado here, it's like butter. Like a good avocado here, which I learned is when you can peel it with your fingers.
Sure. A Dominican know avocado is good when you just go here and the skin go by go away without the need or using a knife or something like that.
Spoon.
Spoon, yes.
So fat intake was a big one. Training, we talked a little bit about giant sets and a little bit about old school bodybuilding, which I'm a big fan. One other thing you are known for is a challenge set. So I have, personally, the first time I've read of a challenge set was the the book Super Squats from Randall Strossen, which is for everybody that's into squat training. Get the book. It's a great book. It's not the biggest book, but basically it makes one point. What you're going to do is you take a load that you can do for 12 reps. You put it on the bar and you squat with it, and you take breaths in between the reps. So you end up doing 20 reps. It's a very, very easy way to put on size. It's quite uncomfortable and hard, but again, you need to train outside your comfort zone. And the next time I saw some challenge set type of approach was with DCRP, rest pulse training, where they use the Widowmaker. So at the end of every workout, you choose one exercise in a body part that you're weak at, and you're basically choosing a load where you can do around 10 to 15 reps with, and then you do one set with that load of max reps until you go to about 25 reps. So basically you're using only one set to build capacity in muscle. And the next step of this type of challenge set I've seen was when I came to the Dominican, where you have different approaches to challenge set. The classic one is the chin up. So either at the end of a training session or just in the middle of there's clients, like one coach goes like, okay, let's do a challenge set, and basically a bunch of coaches line up in the middle of training sessions with clients, and everybody does one set of chin ups or pull ups, and you'll see who can do more reps.
Sure. As you said, gene is 90% environment, 10% equipment. So what we do is I came out with that because I'm a very competitive guy. So I like to feel that everything in my life challenge me, everything. So I need to have a job that challenge me. I need to have everything that if I don't feel the need to improve, I need to move on. If I don't do that, I feel like I'm dying. In every aspect of my life, every relations, job, exercise, nutrition, everything. So what happens is we find out that just by doing that, the guys that was behind the gym when it comes to their physical pinnacle, getting bigger and improve, especially an exercise that it could be one of the big measurements for upper body thickness, the chin-ups and pull-ups, everyone who was staying behind actually did a challenge set. So what I did, we did it so frequently as an accident to improve. So we did it Monday, for example. And Wednesday, after doing arms in the morning, in the afternoon, it was pretty crowded at the gym, and we bring the clients in. They do a challenge set. So we did different methods, like the one who do the most one set, or the one can do in less few sets, go to 50 total, or even 100. Everyone in a couple of weeks start improving their backs. Know how they perform, how they looks like. So the back become thicker, and elbow flexor become, especially brachioradialis, become thicker. So it's like, well, fuck, we're getting results just by getting out of our comfort zone or doing something that nobody does. Like you do your regular session, or at the end of the session without planning, or another hour in the day doing something that was not planned. So we use the magic pill that says, oof, is actually low volume, high frequency. Bah, the magic happens. People with low back got back. People with bigger back beat the other guys. So it became like that. Say the second exercise that we choose was to incline dumbbell press. So we did that, say, because you can do chin-ups for the rest of your life 3 times a week. So after we hit a plateau, like no moving forward, then we went to the incline dumbbell press. Then we did it for the deadlift. Then we did it for the squat. We did it for push-ups. We did it for anything that challenged you. Deadlift, fuck. So it happens to me that I find out about a challenge in deadlift, even knowing because I was reading about that, about big guys that have really good back because they do a lot of deadlift. Their back was completely thicker as Gustavo Valero, Ronnie Coleman. One day with Milos and Charles Poliquin, I ended up doing like arms workout with Charles. I was passing by the barber that was completely loaded because Milos was training Andy Bell, and Milos said, "Hey JC, you want to try it?" I said, "Yes, why not?" It was almost 200 kilos, right? It was 190, 185. I don't remember now. I need to make the numbers, but it was really heavy. So I knew, because I'm very big fan of deadlift, that I could do maybe 8, 10, good tempo, right? No bouncing, and always 4 seconds in the neck, in the eccentric. And I said, "How many you want me to do?" He said, his very funny voice, 17, JC. I said, fuck off. So Charles was there. The gym was completely crowded. It was the right environment for dopamine. So you got my straps, engage, woof, start moving. 17 reps, tempo, complete engagement in the eccentric. At the bottom, no bouncing, pause, engage the lats, go back. And then when I was getting tired after the 12, I could not engage the lats. So my scapula became open and internally rotate the arms. So I keep pulling. Magic. Was on before. I did the lift. I spent 5 days. We so sore my lats. So sore. Sorry, I mean, I was getting ready for a show to the Mr. Olympia, so I was really good environment when it comes to nutrition. And then, I gained 3 kilos just from beef in my lats. So that's how we came out with this deadlift version for the lats.
So you're a big fan of doing chin-up, pull-up, and deadlift for back.
Mm-hmm.
The deadlift challenge set, how do you usually incorporate that in training? So is it like a certain load, or do you take body weight for reps, or what's the usual approach to a challenge set for deadlift?
Usually, the ideal, that's how I did it, without counting, it was almost like 1.75 from my body weight. So I do believe for a regular trainer, client, maximum 1.5, 1.25 would be a good starting point.
And you just get reps.
Reps, but as always, it's not the typical powerlifting execution, no eccentric. So you need to show grace, you need to show form. So you gonna live with the right muscles. A challenge set is as many as you can do. But for example, for the chin up, if you don't clear your chin on the hands, doesn't count. For the deadlift, if you bounce at the bottom, boom, and you get inertia, doesn't count. You need to stop, breathe, engage, stand up, and put it down. So it needs to be something that you're grilling, putting with the right muscles. So as I'm telling you, it needs to be a challenge. It's not something to look for your comfort zone. It's not to make it easier. It's to show you are the king of the jungle, not by quantity, but by quality. Many people over there, they tell you, oh no, I can do 100 pull-ups. Okay, show me how you do it. When you count, not even one. So we live by performance, not by faking or by entertaining. So you need to show first quality, and without compromising quality comes quantity. There's many people that do a lot of quantity, but someone that improve only quantity, it will look a body without quality. It's as simple as that. What Milos says: partial retromotion, partial development, partial movement, partial development. So it's very important to take account whatever you do is quality. If you don't do quality, you will not show quality. I'm not saying your goal is quantity is perfect, but all the people are aiming at least to look muscular. You can be a little bit, maybe not that lean, but you want to wear a shirt and you want to walk in the street that your body talk by yourself. So you don't need to present yourself to show off in the cafe, university, or whatever. The guy is strong. The guy is big. So there's something part of the body that tell you are really a beast. So someone can have, I have clients that do not work with me. They only do the consult for the shows. They look great. But if you look at good strength coach, you know they're weaker. Why? Because there's certain body parts like forearms, necks, that actually comes as a side effect or result of struggling with a lot of loads or a lot of weights. So when we come to challenge set, it's a challenge that never compromise quality above quantity.
Very good point. As you know, I have exactly the same view. Good reps lead to good results. Shit reps lead to shit results. You have a big passion for bodybuilding. You trained some bodybuilders. You competed in bodybuilding yourself. You won the Gustavo Badel Classic, and which I find more fascinating. You went to Mr. Universe, at the age 44, basically everybody else in the final was between 20 and 25, you made the top 10. So you placed top 10 in the Mr. Universe, which is at age 44, which is a quite
at the end,
big accomplishment.
At the end, I feel so grateful about the result, because I do try to enjoy everything I do. So by being there and coming out on stage and know that I got the highest point in the symmetry round was just a big accomplishment. As you know, there's guys younger with maybe a better, when it comes condition for bodybuilding, genetically, no stress, younger, no family. They beat me. But at the end, I beat the one that I have to be, JC. So I always said the contest should be about improving yourself. If you're doing something and you are moving backwards, you're a loser. So being the strongest is not an option, it's a gift. But be the strongest version of yourself, you can do it. You have the options. And it applies to everything in life. So most of the people do not try even to improve because they want to copycat or imitate other people. We live in the era of trying to be like someone else. My quote is, even I'm not the best, I can become the best of my version. Being so secure of myself that maybe the other one that I used to admire, one day could say, I want to be like him. So we need to find our true potential. If you don't find your true potential, you will try to copycat, imitate someone, and everyone else is taken.
Which is a very good approach, not just to bodybuilding, which is a small chunk of your clients, but also to general population, which is the largest chunk of your clients. And also another small chunk of your clients is professional athletes. So in the Dominican, the national sport, baseball, you actually train some of the most successful baseball players in the Dominican ever. What's your approach with them for more performance-oriented, sports-specific kind of strength training and nutrition?
Let's talk about the opposite of the spectrum. Juan Carlos Segura or Robinson Cano. Juan Carlos Segura is younger, but for his position, he's an infielder. He's very fast, but have a lot of issue with mobility. You get Robinson Cano, plenty of mobility, all his joints, so I need to work more for stability. So what I do actually is the same, but it's actually in order that I pick the exercise during the program. For Robinson Cano, I go straight to create more neuromuscular coordination, heavy lift, a lot of eccentric on the chin-ups, high reps. When it comes to high reps, 6 to 8, no more than that, because I'm trying to create functional hypertrophy for them. When it comes to Juan Segura, I spend more time doing some drills when it comes to full range of motion of the joints, like full range of motion in the back extension, full range of motion in the wide stand squats. Everyone is completely different. But what I see is this. One of the biggest mistakes in sports, my opinion, I respect everyone else, the best activity for a sport guy is his sport. As a strength coach, what I'm trying to make is more muscles stronger, and every joint bring balance when it comes to the muscle that create the action and the muscle in the back that are the stability to keep the joint healthy. As simple as that. So I don't get that complicated. So you bring me the guy with many issues because he's been playing baseball. When you play baseball, you are more prone to use one specific muscle in every joint, but you don't use the antagonist muscles. So in my general preparation, I focus more in those muscles that are lacking to bring balance. So we're trying to pick very close to the pre-season. When they go back to the States to go to the training camps, I make them stronger and faster, becoming stronger in the main basic lift. As simple as that. I don't make that complicated. If someone have, when they do the pushing in the overhead press or the incline with the dumbbells, I see not very stable action of the joints of the deltoids. So I work a lot of time in a ratio 2 to 4, or 2 to 1 or 4 to 1 when it comes to back to pressing, period. It's not that complicated. So you increase the load, the amount of volume that you put in the muscles that are actually gonna be like the base for the action of throwing or batting. As simple as that. So the number do not lie to anyone. So I'm very focused on results. But because everyone is completely different, what they have in common, I stick to the basics. full squat. If the guy have a lot of mobility in the ankle, flat stance. The guy has no mobility in the ankles, high heels. If the guy can do chin-ups or pull-ups, for sure, I go in a protocol to improve the pulling overhead. But always I pair a ratio 2-to-1 or 4-to-1 between the pulling and the pushing in the general preparation. That's how it works. I try to see things in more simple perspective. As I told you, from my background, the main focus to someone that got a gym is to become stronger.
The secret is a secret of strength training. Add more plates to the bar.
Hey, it's simple. Stop being lazy. Don't look for excuses. The only way to adapt to become stronger is lifting heavy. There's no shortcuts. When you become stronger, then you get as a side effect good muscles. Good muscles that can show off in the field. Functionality is to gain something in the gym that you can use outside. As simple as that. That's no matter what you do. But if you work or play in a sport that body weight is an issue, you will choose the right rate bracket in order to not induce hypertrophy. As the main effect, you can gain a few kilos, 1 or 2 for accumulation. When you come back to the game, you drop because that's a sarcoplasmatic adaptation. But at least you increase the torque of the action of the muscles. So it's very simple. That's why one of the best way to learn, and I cannot be more reiterative about this, is to come to the workshops. Why? Because I can spend over here 2 more hours talking about how I train my athletes, but 1 hour of training with the right person worth more than a decade of reading.
I think that's a great way to end this podcast episode. I was a lot in the last almost 2 hours. I hope everybody took something away from a nutrition perspective, from the training perspective, and also from a mindset and philosophical perspective.
One way to say goodbye to your public that is very fine, very high educated. Us, you and me as a coach, our duty is not necessarily to bring people and go with them to walk the path. We show them what door to open, but you need to cross it. So the only way to real learn is to feel. You can read, you can see videos, you can do whatever you want. But only when you are in the right environment, you put your body to test, is when you get the real feedback. Because nobody can give what they don't have. You only can have what you taste, what you digest. So even we have not too much time to do a lot of workshops. I do believe, because I will do the same, if I will be one of your students or one of my students, one of the best investment in knowledge is just to practice. So I appreciate your invitation, Wolfgang. And actually, as I told you once in your house in Germany, in Stuttgart, I'm a guy that lives in gratitude. I feel so grateful about your friendship, and besides that, your opportunity to bring me to the German public and Europe. You're the first guy to open the door. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jesse, for being on the show and beyond.
Thank you. Bye.
Hasta luego.